Hi family, welcome to chapter 1, I guess. I thought it was going to be 0, but then I kind of wanted to go even further back in time, so I guess this is now going to be chapter 1, which I could have not changed this, but anyway, I digress. So chapter 1, not 0. Which I call the birth of family therapy. Yay! Again, this is the way that helped me understand these concepts. Take with it as you will, but there was not something that worked for me. I'm a very visual person. I did create this awesome diagram, which I will eventually try to put out there for you to have yourself, because it really helped me. I'm a visual learner. I'm an auditory learner. That's how I am. I have ADHD, I have OCD. I mean, you pick a letter, I'm pretty sure I got something. But this helped me. Point being, this is chapter 1. Sorry, because I would... Anyway, and this is my version 1.0. Again, I'm studying myself. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist associate, studying for the National Marriage and Family Therapist exam. Blech. I am tired, forgive me. I have been studying like crazy. And creating this content, and it has finally been clicking for me, and I felt like I really needed to share it with somebody, because yes, I have bought material like hundreds of dollars, like I have, it's all lovely tabs and colored and highlighted, and it still wasn't sticking. I'm sorry, it just fucking wasn't sticking. It wasn't. And I knew why. Like, I need to know why. I am somebody who wants to know why. Why did that happen? Well, why did that theorist choose that? Well, why? And learning the history has really helped me solidify these concepts, all the way to even helping me understand goals, interventions, and really make these theories and theorists feel like people that I know, and concepts that I'm like, oh, that makes sense, like, I'm sorry, maybe this isn't fit for you, but it works for me. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I will be the first to admit it. This worked for me. So in this section, chapter 1, I call it the birth of family therapy. I'm going to go through and explain everything as to who did it, why they did it, how it kind of developed, what came after what, why that came that way, and how to use it, and some examples, some real life examples. So sit back, hold tight, listen, watch. This is not gonna be beautiful and perfect. I ain't got no damn PowerPoint. I'm too tired. I have the exam next month. But hopefully this helps somebody, because it fucking helped me. All right, here we go. The birth of family therapy. The story before the theories. Understand why family therapy was created in the first place. Every theory after this chapter is simply another therapist trying to answer the question, why do families stay stuck, and how do we help them change? We really start thinking, like, we're really looking now. Before family therapy, the 1900s and 1940s, kind of what we just talked about. If you watch my previous video, that is chapter 0. For most of psychology history, therapists believed that problems lived inside the individual. If someone had depression, treat the depressed person. If a child had a behavior problem, treat the child. If a husband and wife argued, treat whichever one appeared sicker, which was usually the female. Families were viewed more as background information, like, oh, grandma's overly involved. Oh, that's not that important, right? The assumption was one person equaled one problem. The problem with this way of thinking was this, though. The therapist started noticing something strange. A patient would improve, but then go home, and then return weeks later with the exact same problem. So that I cured them, right? Why? It wasn't always because the therapy failed. Okay, granted, sometimes. It was because people return to systems. Yeah, now we're going to start talking about systems. Remember, this is a birth, the birth of Español, birth of family therapy. So, imagine removing one gear from a machine, fixing it, and then putting it back in the broken machine that's just going to get jammed again. Soon, the repaired gear just jams. Maybe the problem wasn't the gear, maybe the problem was the machine. This realization changed therapy forever. Oh, wow, it's not just the individual, it's the system. Systems thinking starts. People are starting to wake up. You're going to notice as I continue. It's like this, we're reading a story, a bedtime story of therapists and people opening their fucking eyes finally and realizing that the problem never was little Billy Bob Johnny. No, it was the fact that the system was fucked up. Anyway, back to studying with KV. The big shift. Instead of asking, what's wrong with this person, therapists began asking, what happened between these people? This became the foundation of family therapy. Again, no longer asking about the one, we're asking about looking at the bigger picture. The father of systems thinking is Gregory Bateson. I don't know, he just kind of feel like he's Santa Claus. He was a professor, an anthropologist. But what's really important to remember is that he was not originally a therapist. And he wasn't trying to invent any therapy. He wasn't out there like, I'm going to make a new therapy. Like, he was just doing his job. He was just looking at bones and thinking and looking at, tribes and stuff and culture and looking at connections. That's all he was looking at. He was starting to look at systems, connections. He was studying how systems work. He noticed something fascinating. Everything in nature works through relationships. He noticed animals, communities, ecosystems, families. Nothing exists in complete isolation. Bateson's big idea was a family isn't just a collection of individuals, it is a living system, like breathing. Just like a beehive, an ecosystem, a sports team, the human body. Every person affects every other person. When one person changes, everyone else changes. He's starting to see that there's this connection. Remember, he's just an anthropologist. He's not a therapist. He's like, man, there's connections. Like, I'm seeing, he's one of like the founding fathers. He's almost like he's like straddling between old school mentality of it's an individual, but he's realizing, he's like coming to realization, and you're seeing him grow during this time. I'm going, oh my God, no, it's not just the individual. It's always, and everything is a system. Everything around us is a system. Everything is a system. And so anyway, that is what he realized. So here's an analogy. Imagine a mobile hanging above a baby's crib. Touch one piece and every other piece moves. Did you touch them? No, but they still moved. Families work that way. All right, next section is general systems theory. And so now we are starting to officially enter that time frame, that era. That book is now being opened for our timeline as we are discussing and learning these theories. So family therapists borrowed ideas from general systems theory, which was developed by biologist Ludwig von, and I can never say this, Bertalanffy. Okay, sorry, no offense. And this theory proposed that a system cannot be fully understood by examining its individual parts alone. So he said, instead, you must study relationships, patterns, interactions, and organizations. So this is when, again, he's looking at biology, so he's watching for patterns, he's noticing things, but he's again realizing, getting further confirmation, these are the beginning kind of coming off of chapter 0, these people are the founders. These are the ones who gave the original concepts to what other theorists really pulled from, okay? Because some of these people, again, they're not full theories, but things that we pull from, little insight that we pull from. And so, he realized that you need to study the relationships, the patterns, organizations, interactions, rather than isolate individuals. Family therapists realize families behave exactly like systems. If this was just further confirmation that there's something bigger. We're straying away. We're in this journey and we're straying away further from that individual mindset. So the new core belief is, instead of it just being a person equals a problem, it's a family system. And then within that family system, at this point in our journey, that the family system has patterns that they're doing, and that's causing the symptoms. Okay, that's this time frame that we're in. So, and we have some, again, this is also where we're very, as I'm speaking anyway, we're in the very beginning. So we're getting a lot of other influences from other things. Again, we had influence from Freud, we had influence from all those others during the individual psychotherapy time frame. And now our eyes are starting to get open, things are starting to be questioned. And we're starting to see patterns that in the family system. And another influence was cybernetics. And I know it sounds scary, but it isn't. Cybernetics is simply the study of how systems keep themselves stable. So, you know, that homeostasis aspect, you know. And so, example, thermostat, house gets cold, thermostat notices, the heat turns on, thermostat rises, the heat turns off. The system constantly adjusts itself, and families do this too. It's basically what that cybernetics is. It talks about is basically what it's saying is that its theory is that when you know that whole kind of concept we were just talking about a little while ago, you kind of adjust one thing and everything else kind of falls in place. Cybernetics, same concept, that the system keeps itself stable through the feedback. Homeostasis is every family develops a normal way of functioning, even unhealthy families. Ironically, though, people often resist change because change feels uncomfortable, and sometimes systems actually help keep the family balanced. So, homeostasis, a lot of people might think, oh, that automatically means that your family is healthy. No, that just means that it's like calm, you know, but there could be a crapload of dysfunction keeping it calm. So yeah, keep that in mind. Examples: a child acts out, distracts parents from marital conflict. One spouse becomes the sick one, allowing the other spouse to become the caretaker. A family unconsciously returns to familiar patterns even when they are painful. And this drives to maintain stability which is called homeostasis. So the next part is circular causality. So old school psychology, old school psychology, which is true, believed that A meant to B, you know. It's very simple. You messed up, now you're crying because you're a bad person. Just don't mess up again. It was very just black and white. I think that's a horrible example. I'm very tired. But anyway, basically it was A led to B. But the mother causes the child's anxiety. That's what it was. That's how it went. You caused that. That's your fault. But the new system's thinking was, but what if? What if the mom's anxiety affects the child? But the child's anxiety also increases the mother's anxiety, which further affects the child until no one can identify where it started. So everyone influences everyone. And this is called circular causality. Something that Bateson during this time is very well known for. Again, this is where we get a lot of our thoughts come from during this time frame. Okay, but they're still very important. Is the double bind theory. So it's something that he's most famous for. So a person repeatedly receives two contradicting stories. So here's an example. A parent says, "I love you," but their body language is cold and rejecting. If the child believes the words, they're confused. If they believe the body language, they're wrong too. And so there's no correct way to respond and the person feels trapped. Although double-blind theory is no longer considered a complete explanation for schizophrenia, it was historically important because it shifted attention towards communication patterns within families. And so initially he did this to kind of prove where schizophrenia kind of was from. Over time, we've all realized that no, it is not just something that like mom created because of how she spoke to Bobby, but there's so many other things to it. But nonetheless, that work that he did was not for naught. They pulled some good stuff from it, which was realized that communication patterns happen within families, which up until this point, remember, we're getting away from individual thinking, that is just the individual person, and now they're realizing, oh, communication within families is a thing. It's a bigger system thing. Their eyes are starting to open towards the whole system mentality. It's what we're going towards. Next, we go towards the Palo Alto group, and we're just going to touch it. And we're leading towards my next video, which is going to be, this was one, next one will be number 2. And so the next one will be about the Palo Alto group, like I was saying. Researchers who are working together there include Gregory Bateson, which you just heard of. So yes, he was even dabbing into it. And some of these people you're going to start seeing, they knew each other, and this is why it gets really confusing to study, and this was really hard for me, and that's why I created this amazing spreadsheet, chart, and this stuff that I'm reading to you. I hope something sticks, and apologize, I wish I had it all typed up and nicely in a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint, but I will eventually, and I pray, because it is really helping me at least feel more comfortable with the concepts, like at least some, I honestly, like, I feel like things are like nicely boxing, and maybe that's OCD in me, I don't know, probably, but it's making things kind of stick, and I didn't have anything that was sticking. Like, I had concepts, but they just weren't aligning. Like, I just had loose pieces, and I just didn't make sense to me, and now they're making sense. Like, the picture's like, oh, okay. Anyway, I'm weird. Anyway, so my next video, we are going to be going towards, again, we're going further and further away from individual mentality, further away from Freud. We just had Bateson kind of give us his insight with his anthropological insight of realizing that throughout the world things work as systems. What's to say that humans are any different? And other people were giving their 2 cents in studies and insight on how people are starting to, this is a time you're seeing people starting to open their eyes, like there's some systems here, there's a connection. In the next chapter, things are going to grow from there. So yes, on the Palo Alto group, like I was saying, Gregory Bateson, Don Jackson, John Weakland, Jay Haley, Paul Watzel, I can't say his name, Virginia Satir, she collaborated a little bit earlier. So these thinkers influenced one another and helped launch modern family therapy, obviously. Their work eventually led to MRI in Palo Alto, California, where one of the first major systemic therapy models was developed, which again, as we go down, you will see it'll start making sense as we go down what starts developing and pooling and kind of, it's like spin-offs of other therapies, which again, they make it confusing. That's why I did this. So deep breaths, you got this. The biggest shift in therapy was, the old question was, why is this one person sick? And now is, what interactional patterns are maintaining the problem? And that single shift became the birth of family therapy. All right, my friends, that was a lot of information. That was 18 minutes. I hope something stuck with you. I really am going to try to get this one thing eventually typed up so that I can just put it like as a PDF, because it really helps as I'm listening to something or reading something to kind of put it in my mind's file in the right place, and it tells me, like if somebody's like, oh yeah, for example, MRI, like now I have it in my mind already, but in the beginning, I'd be like, oh, MRI, oh, so MRI, okay. And then, and I'm also a very visual person. Sometimes I don't have photo, whatever memory. Blah, my mind's tired. But I do sometimes have like it in a way. So I do kind of remember pictures. It's weird. But I don't like to brag about it because I don't want people to be like, oh, you memorize everything. Yes, I do, but it's not reliable enough where I can brag about it, if that makes sense. But anyway, I'm very visual enough with my reading comprehension that it helps when I'm trying to study a concept, if I can have my little timeline that's broken down, so I can be like, oh, okay, and then remembering the stories that I've been talking to you about. Like if you watched my last video or this video and you're doing the timeline with it, it really helps kind of solidify, oh, how those concepts built off of one another and why they were what they were. Why was Freud so one-minded? Oh, well, because back then that's how they were, and then as it builds and as we continue with this story, because this really is kind of a story, like a documentary, but it really helps me understand these concepts and why they are the way they are. Again, I don't know if this is something that's going to help you or not for the exam. If it doesn't, dude, my bad. I needed to understand. Maybe that's OCD and it's not going to help me at all. Maybe it is. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, in a month. All right, anyway, so that's enough for tonight. I'm fucking tired. I'm going to do 1 or 2 more videos because I love my friend so much, and she's going to do amazing. Also taking the exam with me next month. We're going to blow this shit out of the water because we're both amazing fucking therapists, and this is just test anxiety at its worst because I know my shit. All right, if you're taking the exam, I pray that you do amazing. I pray all the good things, all the good jujus, and all the stars aligning for you. If you found this video in any way helpful, helpful, please tag someone, tag a fellow therapist who is also going through the exam, share, follow along. Again, this is just my 1.0 version of this content, but I'm really excited to kind of get it out there. I'm sure I'm going to build more upon it in time to come, but I am also studying myself for the exam, so I figured, and for my friend, and so I figured this content might be a little bit helpful if I'm able to edit it a little and make it work. So we'll see. All right, anyway, enough jib jab. Get to that studying. Good luck. You got this. Good things. Bye, family.